Hello, class. This is Professor Bold from the Lifespan um, Development and Human Behavior. And this is SOCW 2302, sections 004, 006, and 010. I wanted to come to you and give you some additional assistance on the group presentation. So I'm going to click here. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the syllabus first. I want to show you on the syllabus how this is going to work. So I'm scrolling down on the syllabus. I think it's page 3, where it says group presentation. This presentation is 50 points of your final grade. So you get a total of 100 points, and this presentation is very, very significant. Some of those points are from the team activities, and the actual presentation itself is worth 25 points of the class. The presentation is set up as a group presentation. This cannot be completed as an individual. It needs to be completed in a group. So as you go through the team activities, you will understand more about getting into a group, and once you have decided who you're going to have in your group, the various activities for becoming a team. So you will want to look through the video introductions and see, remember we had the video introductions on the first week. You're going to want to look through those and see if there's anyone that you might want to work with on the group presentation, and then talk with them. Okay, so we're going to look at the various activities here. So there are 6 total activities in the group presentation, and they all add up to the final grade. The activities are specifically designed to help you get to the point of having the very best presentation that you can have. So they all serve a purpose, and I think that they will also help you in the long run with working in other groups in other courses. As we go through this, you'll see team activity 1 is becoming a team. Team activity 2 is communicating with your team. Activity 3 is working together. Activity 4 is tools for the project. I'm right here. You need to keep up. Team activity 5 is the actual presentation. And so you'll look at what is required. You'll watch the online video and you'll look at the details, and then you'll post your presentation. And when you get to that point, you can either post your presentation here or where it says in the course syllabus. Okay, here we go. So you will, the goal of the presentation is in your group, no more than 4 people, you will prepare and present about a specific age group's development using Erikson, Piaget, Bowlby. You're going to have a team activity where you choose what tool you're going to use. You're going to do that together. So it's really important that you take this one step at a time. Do not leap to activity 4. You must do activity 1, activity 2, activity 3, activity 4. They build on each other to get the final result. So do not get too far ahead. Allow everyone in the team to participate. That is a key to success here. You'll also be asked at the end to provide feedback to each other in the group, and that will be counted in your grade. The team activity, you'll also do, this here at the end, 6 is the peer review of the activity, so of the project. So I'm pointing this out so that you can see that this builds on each other. Now, I also want you to see that each week, this is very important, why your group should keep up with, okay, the class and keep a regular pace with the class. Now, I know that different people like to get ahead and move faster or slower than others, and that's okay. You can still do this that way, but you need to be able to communicate with your team members at a pace that is going to be successful, okay, for the team. In this situation, you are part of the team, and your input counts for the team's success. So that's important. So the team activities do not begin until Module 3. So you'll see the team activity 1 is there in Module 3 and is not due until February the 11th. That is to get you time to meet people and talk about different things in this activity, in this first team activity. And then you'll see team activity 2 is in Module 4, team activity 3, team activity 4, and team activity 5. You will be finished with all of your all the team activities except one by Module 7. Okay, that is so that if you haven't done the activities, you can catch up with them. There are due dates on the activities, but they are also open. It is preferred that you get these done in time. That's why I've given you a time frame so that you can know, okay, we should be at this point now. Because once you've done activity 5, you're done. Okay, or once you've started working at activity 5, that's actually the presentation. So let me go over that again. So you'll start these team activities in Module 3. Okay, team activity 1, becoming a team. Okay, and then you'll roll through these, and then the activity 5, the actual presentation, is not due until Module 13. Okay, but it's there so that by Module 7, you are looking at this video right now. Okay, so by the time you get to Module 7, you should be seeing this video and talking about it as a team, the actual project. Okay, now it's anticipated that you're going to look at this information well before Module 7, and that's okay, but this is where it's put as an activity, okay, and there is something that you need to do there, okay. And then the actual presentation is not due until Module 13 on April the 22nd. So April the 22nd, there will be something that you have to do when you turn in your presentation, okay? So I want to take us back to course materials and where you post your file presentation, because there are some additional instructions there. So look here, and if you will look, this is the area where you can see the rubric. I'm just going to click there so you can see that there is one. And this tells you exactly what is expected in the grade. So this is the various areas that will be graded on, and then what you can expect. So a very, very good A paper would be over here in the proficient area. Competent is more of a CBE kind of paper, and novice is didn't do well at all area. So I just wanted you to see, and how I got there was if you want to view the rubric. Once the paper is graded, you'll get to see the detailed scores there of your grade and how it related to how you did with the paper. So, I mean, not the paper, the presentation, excuse me. The due date is there, and then right here is some more information. This information is very, very important for your group. So you must have read the text, and do not assume that your reader knows everything that they need to know. Your purpose of the presentation is to show us something we don't know, show us something kind of new. So you use the course materials and outside sources to teach us something about the group that you chose. So you're going to choose an age group if you'll notice, the course text is set up by chapters according to the lifespan, the ages of the lifespan in one way. So you're going to choose an area of the lifespan. So it may be the conception, middle childhood, one of those areas that we talked about. And you're going to compare, in a way, the differences. So you'll talk about, well, this is what a typical person in this age looks like. So a typical person in middle childhood would have these characteristics. But when you take it and you add a caveat to it, which would be something else that has happened, okay? As number 2 says, you're going to discuss the differences between what might be expected of a typical person in that age group as it compares to someone who has experienced risk factors or who is at risk for having difficulty in life due to some life circumstance or life transition. So you're going to take the age group and you're going to think, well, what if maybe something else happened to someone in that age group? And you kind of just think about it as a group. What would be a topic that would be interesting for you to explore? So some of the risk factors that we study in the course with varying ages are things like addiction or poverty or unplanned pregnancy or illness or any number of things that a person can experience in the lifespan that we could look at and say, okay, well, this was something that happened to this person, but whether by their own choices or whether by accident or oppression or something, and they don't have a typical experience. So we have the typical experience that is laid out in the course text, and then there are people who no one has the whole typical experience. So not myself, not anyone else can say, I've been through every life stage in the chapters and never had any risk factor, never had anything happen. That's just not true. So there's always going to be something. So take something like that and compare this population that you're dealing with and say, okay, well, a typical situation would be this. But here we have, that's not the typical for this other group of people. So you're going to discuss the cognitive, emotional, physical, and social environments. Kind of how would this compare to a typical situation? So for example, let's say I take someone who has an addiction to heroin. Okay. So I say, okay, I'm going to study adolescents who have an addiction to heroin. Okay. So you have what happens in the normal adolescence, as it's described in the course text. And then the text also talks about risk factors. And one of the risk factors would be an addiction. And then there's some other risk factors that would be, how did that person become an addict? You know, maybe they grew up in poverty or that type of thing. But you're going to start with how addiction may affect that age group. Okay? But you're going to need to do some outside sources. You cannot answer all of your questions and give a full presentation with just what's in the course text. So we want to see more than just telling me what's in the course text. We have all already read the course text, hopefully, by the time we look at your presentation. Excuse me, these pop-ups on my computer. So we will be looking at your presentation from the viewpoint of someone who would like to learn something new as it relates to the population that you've chosen. Okay? So let me say that a different way. You're going to choose an age group from the course text. And you're going to think about something that might happen to that age group, or a difference of the atypical, a difference of the typical description that's provided in the course text. Could be any number of things. And then you're going to discuss that using the course text and outside sources. So you're going to need to have some other references and source materials. You should include the cognitive, emotional, physical, and social environments of that group that you're discussing. So you may discuss, as I said before, like adolescents who have an addiction to something, heroin or anything, or maybe young children at risk for child abuse, and what are the consequences of that? What happens with that? Like I said, through the age groups, it could be anything. You could pick the elderly, at risk for poverty. So you're going to discuss also how social workers can be effective in working with and or advocating for this population. You're going to create a presentation using some visual aid. Now remember, we go back to the team activities will help you decide these things, okay? So you're going to learn how to become a team, how to communicate with your team, working together, and then one of the activities is choosing the tools for your project. So don't start choosing a tool before you've done team activity 4. Take this at a steady pace. There's some other information here about the specifics of the individual slides. There should be a voiceover. There's some very specific information there. You're all going to complete a group evaluation form. It's on Blackboard. And the presentation needs to demonstrate that you all understand how to apply the theories that we learn in class in a practical situation. So it's more than just a repeat of the course materials. And so here's another example that I gave. If the students choose to look at teen pregnancy, students should show in the presentation that they not only understand teen development, as it is in a typical teen years, but also how the environment has an impact on the teen, specifically teen pregnancy. It is good to have charts and graphs and conclusions about your findings. Also, what does this mean for social work? And how can a soon-to-be social worker learn from your presentation? Was there any new information that you learned as a group? Think about making it interesting, with interesting pictures. You can have a video within your presentation, but it should not represent the entire presentation. You know, if you want to give an example, a short video, less than 5 minutes kind of thing, then you're welcome to include that in your presentation if you think it will add to it. So that is pretty much it. I want to go back to where you post this, and that is in this area here. Once you get ready to post, you can either write it here. See, if I click there, you can write the whole thing there. I wouldn't necessarily do that. I would probably write it. Well, it's a video presentation, so you're going to need to use your tool and upload your tool here. So after you've decided what tool you're going to use as the video presentation and it's ready to go, then you'll attach it as a file there. So let me push cancel here. So that's it. And once you have watched this video and looked at all of the information and discussed it with your team and completed team activity 1, 2, 3, 4, get ready to do the presentation, then you feel free to ask me some questions. I can also be available for conference. Thank you very much for your time.